Ahchwa, tribe up. How you reeling, man? How you reeling? Mount Roraima, man, part 2. Let go, man. I mean, you see what it is, man. You see what it is, man. Go surf the wave on our IG, man. Get the flow. Get the Shabbat flow. Get the Chef Kenny, recipe flow, man. Get the drop. Get all that, man. A high to the home team, man. A high to the tribe, man. That was, flowing, man. All Baruch, man. Flowing with the blessing, man, of planting seeds on our own land. I mean, getting on roads, man. Focused. You just see what it is, man. From young to, mature. You see the tribe coming together, man. Teenagers, OGs, you know what I mean? And so much more, man. But no greater feeling than what you've seen in this picture. Once you get to the land, you like, a part of you stays there. You come back to the cities deflated, like, it's only because a part of you stayed right there on that land waiting for you for that next Shabbat flow, Shabbat trip. So we flowing in Choose Up Village, man. We exploring our land, exploring our trails. We're finding new trails every time, new spots every time. And it's just the start, man, getting this initial 10 acres, man. But this is with your support, man. Whether it's the drop shirts or hats or being a dragon sponsor on the wall, man. All that, man, is crystallizing, materializing right before your eyes, man. And to see our youth being able to grow up, knowing that they have land, they own land, it's theirs. It's theirs to explore, it's theirs to build. Land gives you purpose. Land is connected to your ether, to your creator. Being with your creator automatically, land is a part of your tribe, of your life, because you're connected to your creator, which is the Dragon, the fire, water, air, land, earth, connection, bridge. And this is what we felt right here, man. This is what we felt right here, man. I am Hakan. AD, the truth seeker, man. Powwow on the land, exploring the land, planting the land, tilling the land, building the land. It's CUV all the time. Man, peace and power, hip to real. True to life, man. True to life, real one. We just surfing the wave, man. Yeah, man, come over here, man. Enjoy the flow, enjoy the wave, man, and surf it, man. And just know that we do it for you. We vibing up, man. We vibrating for you. Enjoying the flow, man. Staying ethered up. Oh, man, where's that great... Where's that great drop, man? You see Hakan, Mark keeping us on track, man. This track, this joint popped off the track, man. It took us 2 hours to get this joint back on track. You see AD, the truth seeker, up there. All praise Awai. We got it back on track to complete our dirt roads, man. Man, what a feeling. Brother Nature, making sure we on track all the time. And you already know, man. It's all about getting the roads clear so we see clearly. Brother Nature said, teamwork, make a dream work. Ahchwa, Ahchwa. We staying on track, man. We vibing up. It's all Ahchwa. The waters are flowing. I hope you got that, I pray you got that 3-minute meditation. That you're able to get the water flowing. And the amazing thing is we bought the land You know, before we saw the land, we bought the land at the time when J. Stu and the crew was still out there. We wanted to make sure they had a place, and to be able to see the water flow. And wow, after we bought the land, we saw the water. It wasn't even like marketed like that. Like, it was just like, somebody was giving it away from their family and they were trying to do something with it, and we bought it from the owner. So to discover the water flow flowing all through our land, you know it's all halal Hawaii. We are home, keepers of the CUV. Halal Hawaii. Halal Hawaii. We just surfing the wave, man. We just surfing the wave. Get in the drop chatter, man. Make sure you get all that, all the new, man, and whatever we dropping is coming right here first, man. We're going to drop it here way before it hits YouTube, so get in the chatter box, man. Z Lion, what it do? Yosef the Real, Exiles, Dawi, Jaguar Olmec, man, who just became a Dragon sponsor on the wall. You can become a Dragon sponsor on the wall by coming to 432thedrop.com. And like I said, by coming here, you are increasing our water. You are increasing the flow of the water on our land. Copper, dragon, silver, gold. And all praise Hawaii, man. We got a beautiful ether squad, over 20 tribal members, dropping books, poetry, all week long. So every dollar goes to every one of them. Tomorrow we got our first ether payout, so they'll be getting, everybody be getting a few bucks in their hand. We got 4 Dragon sponsors, so far. So we're gonna build that up. So one day our vision is that all of the tribal members dropping in the ether will have a sustainable flow, so that they can buy their land, build their land, grow their land, fulfill the dreams that Hawaii's put inside of them just by reading books to the community and being supported by the community, reading books to the tribe and being supported by the tribe, by the drop community, man. So this is Tribal Flow, and it's just getting started. Be a Dragon sponsor on the wall, and you'll see the flow of the water. Tide Battle, what it do? Higher Mark, Chef Candy, what it do? Man, it feels good when you got that fire burning. When you keep the fire burning. And you know who keep the fire burning, man? Templar, keep the fire burning. Let's keep the fire burning. We just talking Roraima, right? This is out the book Waterfalls by Patricia Corrigan. The Piedmont Indians native to the area have always known about the Ayun Tepui and the other tabletop mountains. And if you don't know mountains or trees by now, then go back and get the drop. We did a great series on that. Go get it. Europeans commenced scientific research in the Tepuis 1838. So now, in 1838, comes the Hijack 101, spreading out, sprawling out, calling it, we're investigating parasites, diseasing up the place. 1838, here they come with their so-called scientific research in your mountain. So Robert Schomburg, sounds like a damn parasite, like already, a German naturalist and one-time tobacco farmer in Richmond, Virginia, we just talked Virginia, was the first to study the area. So he's coming from virgin land already. We just heard that connection to Eden. To this Eden, how many Edens do we got? According to the Serpents of Wisdom by Mark Amaro, love to tie battles, reading that. Every vortex is a garden of Eden. Every vortex is a garden. It's not just one Eden. Every vortex is a garden. And they call this Tepui, Mount Roraima, they call it the navel of the world. Every vortex is an Eden. Let's get it. Thorne and Perkins' exhilarating report on Mount Roraima delivered at a meeting of the Royal Geographical Society allegedly inspired Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to write a novel about what? Prehistoric animals living on a remote plateau. Prehistoric animals living on a remote plateau. Like dragons? Oh, they're going to say dinosaurs, pterodactyls. That book, The Lost World, ain't that like Jurassic Park, right? Was first published in October 1912 after appearing in a serial form in a magazine in March the same year. The enthusiastic response surpassed all expectations, and Conan Doyle was so enthusiastic about his book that he posed for publicity photos dressed as Professor Challenger, one of the main characters. You know, so they're going to this Angel Falls, which is the highest waterfall, the world's highest waterfall. Angel Falls or Dragon Falls? Choose your Joshua. And remember, when we talk to dragons, it's all in the script. And it will happen after he has brought down everything which is in the world and has sat down in eternal shalom on the throne of the kingdom, and then joy will be revealed and rest will appear. We're talking paradise, right? And then health will descend in dew, and illness will vanish, and fear and tribulation and lamentation will pass away from among men, and joy will encompass the earth. We're talking paradise, right? And nobody will again die entirely, nor will any adversity take place suddenly. Unjust judgment, condemnations, contentions, revenges, blood, passion, zeal, hate, and all such things will go into condemnation, since they will be uprooted. They will be uprooted, but have your trees been uprooted, or have they been sliced? Are they now flat-top tepuis? Tabletop mountains, have they been uprooted? No, they still have their crystal roots. And you're going to hear how they're walking on top of Roraima on quartz crystal, because these are crystal trees from the Silicon era. Go get that drop. But condemnation will be uprooted, for these are the things that have filled this earth with evils, and because of them life of men came in yet greater confusion. And the wild beasts will come from the woods and serve men, and the asps and dragons will come out of their holes. The dragons will come out. The asps will come out. What they say, probably Egyptian cobra or some type of, Nahanehe, Egyptian cobra, snake. Alright. But the peace and security of Messiah's reign is represented by the figure of a child playing on the hole of an asp. The peace and security of the Messiah's reign is represented by a child playing with an asp, playing on the hole of an asp. So the asps are coming out of their holes, right? And the wild beasts will come from the wood and serve man, and the asps and dragons. Does it say this is a myth? No. It's reality. Will you deal with it? Will you become water again? The asps and dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child. This is a prophetic. This has to do with the Mashiach, right? Are we talking David? Are we talking Preston? We're talking Ahchwa. The peace and security of this Prester, right? This priest king. His reign is represented by the figure of a child playing on the hole of the asp. The wild beasts will come out from the wood and serve men, and the asp and dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child. Interesting correlation between 2nd Baruch 73 and this random Bible study tool definition of asp, and how they correlated the Messiah's reign being represented to validate what this is saying about these asps and the meaning of this asp coming out the hole and subjecting themselves to a child, because it has everything to do with the Messiah's reign, represented by the figure of a child playing on the hole of an asp. Can't make this stuff up. And women will no longer have pain when they bear, nor will they be tormented when they yield the fruits of their womb. This is paradise, right? Paradise, right? Paradise, right? I mean, Columbus wasn't the only one talking about Eden in a new world or rediscovering Eden, while Henry Nash Smith saw the westward pool of the garden as a phenomenon. The westward pool of the garden as a phenomenon of the 19th century. It has been a part of America from the beginning. Many of the earliest English explorers characterized the New World as an earthly paradise. Many of the earliest explorers, invaders, coming into this pristine land, they're calling new to them, which is really the old world. We're going to prove that as an earthly paradise. So when they came to the old world, it is paradise. They believed that they would rediscover Eden. Not over there where they're from. Over here. This was probably, at least in part, an attempt to encourage private investors to subsidize new explorations. Well, that's what they say. Or they were actually rediscovering Eden. And they said, let's get rich off of this too and get some private investors behind it. Remember, they were doing advertisements, man. Showing these tapirs grazing, and where are they grazing? Click these links below. These are very rare articles you're checking out. Advertisements from the 1700s, from New Amsterdam or New York City or America. A sailor's sketchbook of human and animal curiosities in early modern Amsterdam, America, and it has everything to do with the 1700s. They're planning this, they're painting everything they're seeing, right? The plants, the trees, the flowers. Let's go, man. What else did they paint? Tapirs. Now, this is a very rare animal. And we're going to get that these tapirs are also being, spotted on Roraima when we get into these books. We got some great docs to get to today. Love to Awatar. Awatar, man, just taking over the library, dropping book drop on the site, doing her thing, much a hot top battle. Get all the drop, man. advertisements of the arrival of the tapir and menagerie of the White Elephant Inn. All right, 1700. White Elephant Inn and at other sites in the city where it enticed viewers to come and see, right? Private investors. So it doesn't have to be this or that. If they're finding the old world and they're calling it new, then surely they want their investors, they want the queen's money, right? They want the king's money. Because they want the gold. Let's get it, man. The striking black and white woodcut of the unusual looking tapir attracts the eye so that even those who were not fluent readers might stop, look, and even go in. The next text follows with broad invitations to all gentlemen, quote, to all gentlemen, ladies, burghers, merchants, and all furthermore to all lovers of animals to come and see this rarity which many writers say does not exist anywhere in the world. They're in the lost world, huh? It has been captured with great difficulty and cost where? In the river Euphrates in America. Euphrates, Euphasi, love to Jackie Anthony, drop and drop. I see you drop, my sister. We will be featuring you drop this Friday live on our Shabbat show live at 432thedrop.com, 10p. Check it out. River Euphrates in America. And then they try to cover it up. Oh, this is probably an error. The Euphrates River is far from America. No. It can't be, right? But we're just talking about this painting. This beautiful painting. Tapir with his young painting. 1700s. Artiste Library. University of Amsterdam. For he does not picture the animal as he saw it surrounded by onlookers in the White Elephant Inn. Rather, he paints a colorful gouache of several tapirs, grazing peacefully in the waters of what is undoubtedly meant to be the Euphrates River in America. The river and its bank are suggested with vague watches of blue and green. Euphrates River in America. And Jackie Anthony's tying that into the Euphasi or the Tennessee River. And you're also going to read how these tapirs are being located on the summit of Mount Roraima. Could this be a painting from the summit of Mount Roraima? It was captured with great difficulty, right? Captured with great difficulty. Great difficulty. Why would it be such great difficulty to get there? Because when you talk of Mount Roraima and you talking the facts, then you need to know that any expedition to Mount Roraima takes at least 3 days to get to this top. Some say 2, some say at least 3 days going up the mountain to get to the top. So then it makes sense why this picture is being captured with great difficulty. Great difficulty. But what else do they say over here, man? Oh, Roraima was used as a prototype for the mountains in the Pixar movie Up. I need to see that again. Apparently they're using Mount Roraima as a basis for the movie Up, the same way they're using Mount Roraima as the basis for Avatar, right? They go up those floating mountains. Well, they're calling this the floating mountain because it's You know, you got the clouds. It's above the clouds, you know what I'm saying, near the air. I mean, it's a permanent mist coming down. Rain, the source of these great rivers, right? The Orinoco, the Amazon. It's the source of the Amazon, Roraima, flat top mountain. Source of the Guyana and the Amazon and the Orinoco flow. Well, you know, Columbus said Orinoco's flowing out of terrestrial paradise, Eden, right? So I said if Orinoco's flowing out of Eden and Roraima is the source of the Orinoco, then, and they're calling it the Lost World and say this prehistoric life on top, could this be the actual location of Eden? Or one of the Edens, because there are many when you talk vortexes on the earth plane. And it would seem that Eden would be on a mountain or a giant tree, not just chilling somewhere down here, right? Seems like we need to go up, up, up. Pixar movie Up. You know, you can check this link out. You know, check this, little trailer out. But, it's basically telling you this, Venezuela makes it onto the big screen this May. Pixar latest animated characters explore the mysterious Tepui Mountains of the Grand Savannah, the flat top mountains, huh? Goes on to explain, he takes her to where? Paradise, 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 Eden, Paradise Falls. The most beautiful and awe-inspiring waterfall. The tallest waterfall, right? The highest waterfall in the world. We're talking tabletop mountains or cut off trees. This area is the far south of Venezuela, and the borders of Brazil and Guyana is known as the Lost World. The Lost Garden. After the 1912 adventure novel of the same name, The Lost World. That's what we're going to read today. We're going to get some of that. Get some of that deviltry of Eldorado. Get some of this canoe drop right here, man. We're just going to go in. Canoe and camp life in British Guyana. All right, man. All right, man. We're just talking the Tepuis, right? The Ion Tepui. And they mention the same book here. Inspired Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to write the novel The Lost World. So you see how this would encourage private investors to subsidize new explorations, ventures which England's Queen Elizabeth was reluctant to risk state funds, but also evident in these reports is a sense of an awe at the natural abundance of the new land and an undercurrent of excitement about what these resources could mean to the fledgling English empire. Cities of love to Freddie B. We're going to get back on it. Smith notes that the first American writers to describe the Allegheny settlements in Kentucky or Kentucky. Love to carry May, who just dropped some great drop on me on this Kentucky. We got some of that live in the ether. We're just talking more paradise, man. We're preoccupied with the beauty and fertility of the land of what? Kentucky. Rather than with the implications of the westward expansion for the growing society. Similarly, the first English explorers of the eastern shore of New World were fascinated with the abundance before them. The following excerpts from the first English explorations of the New World or Old World illustrate the merging of what? America and the Garden of Eden. The Old World, right? We're just talking about the river Euphrates in America. This conflation of America and Eden laid the foundation for the 19th century so-called myth of the garden in the West, right? So it laid the foundation for them to start searching for the garden in the so-called West. And this is, you can go on and see more than Columbus, other explorers talking about the sweet smells in Virginia, overflowing grapes. This is from Arthur Barlow's report, 1584. The best in all the world, the soil is the most plentiful, sweet, fruitful, and wholesome of all the world, and naturally yields 3 annual harvests with little effort on the part of the planter. Barlow finds the natives most gentle, loving, and faithful, void of all guile and treason. So he found some peaceful, pure people on a pure land, and such as lived after the manner of the Golden Age. In a land in which the earth brings forth all things in abundance as in the first creation, without toil or labor. Man, one imagines that the Native Americans would have disagreed with Barlow's enthusiastic estimate of the amount of labor required to coax a living from the soil, but the significance of Barlow's report lies not in the accuracy, but in the interpretation of what he saw. Captain Barlow looked at 16th century America and saw paradise. Just as Smith notes, John Filson looked westward to 18th century Kentucky and saw a land like the land of promise, flowing with milk and honey. And you remember, man, Columbus, keenly interested in finding the lost Garden of Eden. Columbus was keenly interested, so he knew it was over here in the Old World, where you Nagas are from. One of his prized possessions was a copy of the Cardinal Piero de Ali's and Mago Mundi, a geographical treatise that suggested terrestrial paradise perhaps is the place which the authors called the Fortunate Islands. Let's go. When he stumbled on the island of Hispaniola, Columbus believes he was close to rediscovering Eden, a belief reinforced by the strength of the Orinoco. I have never read or heard of so great a quantity of fresh water so coming into and near the salt. And the very mild climate also supports this view, and if it does not come from there, from where? Paradise. We're talking the Orinoco. The Orinoco confirmed to Columbus that he was near paradise, near Eden, and the Orinoco is flowing from where? Mount Roraima. This flat top tepui, they say, right? That takes 3 days to get up. 3 days to get up. Let's go. Allahu. So this book here is called Canoe and Camp Life in British Guiana. We're going to get to that lost world by Conan Doyle that we keep hearing about. Charles Barrington Brown. All right, let's go. It's a beautiful morning, man. About 6 in the morning in Inglewood. You know, about to make some good pancakes in a minute, man, for the whole squad over here, man. If you ain't tasted my pancakes, man, then what's your problem, man? That's your fault, man. Let's go, man. You know, I could do pancakes and I could do oatmeal, man. Other than that, leave me alone. Leave me alone. All right, let's get to page 122. You got all the links below. Let go. Long before daybreak on the following morning, lighted by the moon and the morning star, we were on our way once more. The morning air was deliciously cool and thinly clad. As I was, it almost made me shiver. Early in the forenoon, we rounded the end of the Watipu, and the glorious view of Roraima mountain burst upon us, and the bright sun's rays lighting up its curious detail. Marching directly towards it over ridge and hollow were small streams, were numerous. We halted for a time on a ridge at the edge of an extensive valley in which ran the Arapu River. Nestling in the valley of our feet was a small village called Mauta. From the opposite side of the valley, a number of ridges intervened between it. At the foot of Roraima, turn in any direction, I would most wonderful scenery was presented to my view. From the great pink precipitous Roraima in the northwest, looking like the huge fortification surrounded by a gigantic glacis, to the great undulating plain stretching southward as far as the eye could reach, where at the horizon land melted into the sky. A great layer of white, fleecy cloud hung over Roraima, obscuring its top, which, driven by the wind, seldom cleared it before another cloud followed in its wake. That's why they say it's the floating islands, because these clouds go right through it. Enveloped its further in. Descending to the village, we found it abandoned temporarily by its owners, members of the Arawakuna tribe, and took up our abode in it. I know this is sideways, but you can kind of turn your head and kind of get a glimpse of what they are seeing. So these are explorers in the 1800s, early 1900s. You know, you can see this is Roraima right here. You know, they're just trying to get up, you know, to the peak. So let's get it from right here. On February 7th, I took the guide and another Indian, crossed to the foot of Roraima, ascending its slopey portion to a height of 5,100 feet above the level of sea. Between the highest point I reached and the foot of the great perpendicular portion, which towered high above us, was a band of thick forests. Looking up at the great wall of rock 2,000 feet in height, I could see that a forest covered its top. Alright, that's what we're talking about, the lost world, this forest. So some people get up there and say, oh, we just see some rocks. There's not a lot of pictures online. Like if you try to look for Mount Roraima pictures, there's not a lot of pictures. It seems like there should be way more pictures. But the ones we keep seeing are more like just rocky, you know, whatever. But we're hearing from these explorers, man, like Charles Barrington Brown, that there's a whole world, right? These forests, these thick forests. So there's no way these hikers go up there now, you know, and then come back after a day and say they saw something. I mean, there's a lot to explore, even though they say it's only about 12 miles wide. But, you know, how deep does the mountain go? It's not so much what's on top of the mountain or what's in the mountain. So there's great beds of white, pink, and red sandstone, of which is composed are embedded with layers of red shell, the whole resting upon a great bed of diorite. Just crystals we talking, man. No one can view this wonderful mountain and its surrounding similar shaped neighbors without feeling convinced that they stood at one time on islands in the ocean. Floating islands in the ocean. So they're saying that these once stood as islands in the ocean. Almost like you could imagine if the water had risen way up, and there would just be islands on top. Old world, right? If any mammals then lived upon them, when the sea washed the bases of their cliffs, the descendant of those mammals may exist there still. Like dragons. For all communication with their tops and their surrounding country have ever since been effectively cut off by their perpendicular sides, it is interesting to speculate upon what sort of animals might be found there, but as speculation it must remain, for unless one ascended the mountain by means of a balloon, we're just talking about the movie Up, and how this cat put a bunch of balloons, right? However, after tying 10,000 balloons to his home and sailing up to the sky, he gets a nasty shock. Alright, so he had to go way up and take balloons to get to where the lost world. We're just talking about Mount Roraima. Yeah, man. I gotta see this movie, man. Let's go. So, yeah, by balloon, right? For unless one ascended the mountain by means of a balloon or 10,000 balloons, the question could never be settled. The length of Roraima is about 8 to 12 miles. Kukunam is perhaps more. So there's more than one. One is called Roraima. There's another one, and there's another one named El Biapure. Almost sounds like Beth Pure. Alright. Still more extensive. So they're saying these are even bigger. While all have perfectly level tops. So there's more than one area. Alright. The area of the surface of Roraima Mountain must be considerable for Sir R. Schomburg, who visited its southern end. These are real explorations, just like people trying to visit Antarctica. These are real explorations. To the western of the point to which I ascended describes some beautiful waterfalls as leaping from its sides. Yeah, man. It's the source of the Amazon. Waterfalls, right? I mean, take your pick. And it says all these mountains, all these clouds are passing through these mountains, and you see the waterfall coming out these sides right there. All these waterfalls shooting out, and these clouds passing through it, right? Keep it all in mind. Waterfalls leaping from its sides, forming the drainage of part of its top. When viewing it from a mountain of Upper Mazaruni in 1872, at a distance of 13 miles, I distinctly saw an enormous waterfall. All right. Yeah, man, we talking waterfalls, man. Let's go to page 266, man. Skip on over, we're just surfing the way. got the drop, man, so you can truly dig through this, man, and get so much drop from these great documents. At the mouth of one inlet, two large river porpoises swam out, showing their heads and back above the water. So they're checking out all this life. So they see a what? A tapir came to the river after dark and swam down past our camps. A tapir, right? Now we just talked about tapirs being described in this advertisement as being this rare, no one's ever seen them in all this time. This picture was captured with great difficulty. The striking black and white wood cutout of the unusual looking tapir attracts the eye. All right. And we're hearing these tapirs described as, not being seen anywhere else. But it's being seen right here in the river Euphrates, or Euphrates River in America. Tapirs, huh? A tapir came to the river after dark and swam down past our camp. We're talking about Roraima, right? This picture was captured with what? Great difficulty. They had to do some climbing or something. Captured with great difficulty. Let's get it from right here, page 268. We spent 2 days at our camp repairing our corals with materials brought over from our stores at Awenhai. Each coral had a single plank along its sides to make them lighter, which being in a shaky condition had to be nailed afresh, and their numerous splits and cracks had to be caulked with occam and coached with pitch. The place we occupied in this work resembled a boat builder's yard and resounded with the noise of the caulking hammer. In the most enlivening manner, the sun was awfully hot and its rays beat down on us while at work at the most unmerciful way. Oh, they don't like the sun, man. Late in the evening, after the work was over, I finished with Ben and William in one of the corals and enjoyed the sport immensely, the fish taking the hooks with avidity. We hauled in 5 bears and 1 parai, and hooked a large Roraima, which dragged our craft rapidly through the water. It soon became exhausted and was hauled up to the edge of the boat when the hook, which had only gone through its upper lip, was quickly freed by one cut with the knife. The great fish sinking quickly out of sight. While thus engaged, the fish resembling a shad, jumped out the water and falling into our boat, we captured. So they're just talking about, this is all their adventure on Roraima. They're fishing, they're doing all this, and now you think you know about Roraima because people say, oh yeah, I hiked to the top. Then where was all this investigation? There must be a whole nother world that we're not hearing about. A whole nother world that we're not hearing about. I was gazing upon a huge orchard of young fruit trees flocks of Muscovy ducks were numerous on all parts of the river, and we partly lived upon them during our journey in the corals. At night, before dark, they flew up and down the river like bats, affording me some flying shots. The chief drawbacks to our comfort were cabarus, or biting black flies, and those other torments, the little white-bodied savannah flies. So they're getting eaten up by flies on their, trip through these jungles, man. I'm just scrolling through, just checking this book out, man. I'm gonna definitely check out much more, and if you find some drop, go ahead and drop it, man. Let's get to this joint right here. This Devil Tree of Eldorado. We're gonna pick it up in page 39. So pull this one up. Let's go. This is by Frank Aubrey. And it actually has a very interesting, preface before we even get to that. We got a piece of this, on part 1, but, I want you to see and really understand the importance of this exploration. And it's not just us going crazy, that these, when we talk worlds beyond the poles and, Giannini, these are, true explorers, man. The General, or Admiral Richard Byrd, and all this was well-funded explorations, and now suddenly we don't explore anything. Now it's all just a myth, and you just look at the news and social media all day. We are in our deepest sleep, right? So, The Devil Tree of Eldorado by Frank Aubrey. Let's see how passionate he was about this Roraima. Shall Roraima be handed over to Venezuela? Shall the mysterious mountain, long known to scientists as foremost among the wonders of our earth? So right away you see that Roraima is long known to scientists as the foremost wonder of our earth. Now some try to say, it's the 8th wonder, whatever, man. It's the foremost wonder of our earth, regarded by many as the greatest marvel of the world. What is inside Mount Roraima and these other mountains and these other floating islands, right? And why is it being considered the greatest marvel? So they're just fighting over the territory. Should it become Venezuela territory, British territory? Ever since Robert Schomburg first explored the colony, so it was first explored by this Robert Schomburg at the expense of the Royal Geographical Society some 60 years ago, or more now, right? Roraima has remained an unsolved problem of romantic and fascinating interest, as attractive to the ordinary person as to the man of science. Regarded by many scientists as the greatest marvel of the world. Why? Because it has that Orinoco flow that Columbus knows when he's rediscovering Eden, a belief reinforced by the strength of the Orinoco. He knows it's coming from paradise. And we know that the Orinoco is flowing out of Mount Roraima. Got it. So now we understand why Sir Richard Schomburg first explored this colony at the expense of the Royal Geographical Society some 60 years ago. Roraima has remain an unsolved mystery. A romantic mystery. We're talking Eden, right? Adam and Eve, right? A romantic mystery. A fascinating interest, as attractive to the ordinary person as to the man of science. All right, let's get it, man. Page 39. How you reeling? Is your heart pointed in the right direction? We're just talking about the mystery. We're talking about the terrestrial paradise, the fairyland. Remember how they call dragons fairies when they want to turn it into just a fun story, a light mythical story. They turn dragons into fairies. Let's go. And the dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child. What holes? Let's go. Page 39. They reached the summit of the ridge just when the sun was rising, and there, before them, like a veritable fairyland in the sky. Fairyland in the sky. Fairyland in the sky. As you can see, if you notice these pictures, they're from far away. They don't give you too much drop on top, right? You don't see that much drop being put out there on top. Even though we're just talking about this fairyland in the sky. They still don't give you a lot of drop on this fairyland in the sky. You gotta dig on it. You gonna have to dig it up. They reached the summit, alright? Like a venerable fairyland in the sky, they saw the mysterious Roraima, its pink and white red cliffs illuminated by the morning sun, and floating in the great sea of white mist. Above which showed here and there the peaks of the other lower mountains, like the islands they once were. So you can imagine the waters being risen up. And these are islands. Or the water's lowering, and these are tall mountains in this system of ours. And the peaks of the other lower mountains, like the islands they once were, but looking dark and heavy in a half shadow beside the glorious beauty of this queen of them all that reared herself far above everything around. It is impossible to give an adequate idea of the impression grandeur of this mountain, which might be likened to a gigantic sphinx, serene and impassive in its inaccessibility, or it might be likened to a colossal fortress built by the Titans to guard the entrance to an enchanted land beyond. Like Wakanda, right? A fortress to guard the entrance. Vortex. Remember, there's many Edens when you talk dragon lines and intersections and vortexes. Every vortex is an Eden. Every mountain on a vortex. They call this the navel of the world. the navel of the world. Vortex, 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 let's go. For the cliffs at its summit appeared curiously turreted, while the corners were great rounded masses that might pass for towers or bastions. In places the light-colored cliffs were to be seen, darker rocks, black and dark green and brown, worked in, as it were, with strange figures as though inlaid by giant hands. And everywhere the sides were perpendicular, smooth and glassy looking. Scarce a shrub or creeper found a precarious hold there, but down the height at one spot fell a great mass of water like a broad land of silver sparkling and glistening in the sunlight that came with one mad leap from the top and disappeared to a cloud of spray and mist 2,000 feet below. Further along could be seen other narrow falls like silver threads. There was no crest or peak. As with most mountains, the top was a tableland, beyond whose edge one could see nothing. This edge was fringed with what looked like herbage, but seen through a powerful field glass proved to be great forest trees. Then, as the sun rose higher and warmed the air, the mist cleared somewhat around the lower part of the precipitous cliffs, so that far, far down could now be seen the foliage that crowned the great primeval forest. The forest of demons. Why are they calling it the forest of demons? Huh? What are they referring to your dragons as now? Demons. That guarded the cliff's base. Gradually the mist descended and the full forest height showed up like a titanic pedestal of green, itself floating in the haze that still remained below. By degrees the mist rolled down the mountainside, for below the extensive forest girdle the actual base and lower slopes began slowly to appear with waterfalls and cascades and rushing torrents and great rivers like the Orinoco, like the Amazon River, dashing and foaming in the rocky beds. Then other intervening ridges and patches of forest and open savanna gradually came into view with the full forms of the surrounding smaller mountains, the whole making up a panorama that was marvelous in its extent and in the variety of its shapes and tints. But scarcely had the sun revealed the wondrous sight to their astonished eyes when a cloud descended upon Roraima's height. Almost imperceptibly it grew darker than darkness still, darker still, and yet more somber to the erstwhile fairy fortress, right? Fairy fortress. Seemed to frown in gloomy grandeur. Its salmon-tinted sides, but now so airy-looking in their lightness, turned almost black and seemed to glower upon the brilliant landscape. Sounds like Avatar, man. Glower, alright? Everything started to glow. The forest also lost its verdant coloring and looked dark and forbidding enough to pass for an enchanted wood peopled by dragons. Oh, demons, hobgoblins, to guard the grim castle in its center. So these dragons are guarding something, right? And the asps and dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to the children. Children of who? Jacob. The dragons will come out their holes. This is a prophecy, right? A prophecy matching the asp The peace and security of Messiah's reign is represented by the figure of a child playing on the hole of the asp. And the asps and dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child. Dragons are guarding the castle at its center. We're gonna go there. Love to Con Fresh for pointing this out, man. Dropping this, man. Making sure we got it. Bunch of hot Con Fresh. The fresh kind. Then the cloud descended lower still. The cloud descended lower still. Let's go. And castle and haunted forest passed out of sight. So they must have seen the actual castle. It passed out of sight as swiftly and completely as though all had been a magical illusion. So they saw something. They saw a castle on the summit of Roraima. Let me get my alkaline, man. It's about to get good. Alright. But then it all passed and they said it must be an illusion. A magical illusion that had vanished at a touch of the magician's wand. Let's keep it flowing, man. Let's keep it flowing. Let's get to page 153. Same book. We're going to get a few more of this and we're going to go to that lost world dropping, you know. Keep it flowing, man. Keep it flowing to part 3, man. There you go. Let's get a piece of this marvels of Manoah. I mean, what are they seeing? What are they witnessing? During the following days, Elwood and Templemore learned much of the strange land in which they found themselves, of its people, their condition, and other details. So they got people, life. But since to give every separate conversation, incident, and other means by which they gain their information would be tedious, it will suffice to cite some extracts from Templeton's diary that summarize the knowledge then and subsequently obtained. I'm able now to jot down some account of this strange place and its inhabitants, so far at least as my limited knowledge of its language and other means of information go. The people seem to be amiable, fairly intelligent, considering, of course, that they know nothing of the great world outside. They're cut off and generally well disposed, although they maintain a small force of soldiers or guards and drill and discipline them with as much assiduity as though they might be called to engage in warfare. Yet, as a matter of course, there are no people with whom they can go to war, nor is there any likelihood of having to fight. Well, shit. Apparently, the invader is in the land. Apparently, they know some things. Apparently, they know they may have to fight one day. And this, unfortunately, has not been unknown. Moreover, there are signs in the air that it may not be unknown again. Wow. An unexpected discovery we have made is that this mountain is connected to another close to it called Merlanda. So Merlanda, like Merland, or myrrh, like frankincense and myrrh, like the land of myrrh, right? The connection is underground. The connection is underground to the other mountains, like the one in the back over here. You see this one? These are all connected underground. Come on, man. This is all a connected place. The connection is underground and was made originally in the course of mining operations, undoubtedly, once these people were a great nation. Their arts and scientists, their buildings, their engineering works, my naga, they talking you, and their knowledge of mechanics all give evidence of this. But since a nation isolated as this has been for ages must necessarily either progress or retrogress, the Minoans slowly, gradually but surely have done the latter. And they don't know what's going on. Don't even dodge the hijack. They don't even know what's going on. They have numerous museums which are full of wonder of all sorts, pointed to lost arts, lost sciences, lost inventions, lost knowledge of all kinds. So again, they're acting like the people that they're seeing there now are the people that have always been there, and these could easily be some other people that came along later, and they're saying, oh, you guys have instead of progressing, you have retrogressed. But maybe you're talking about a whole nother people. But when you look at the Naga, have we not retrogressed? Have we not been invaded and cut off from our Creator? And when you cut off, does that not retrogress you? So, perspective, man. They got these lost scientists and inventions, lost knowledge of all kinds, lost knowledge, man. You are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The fact that the demand has fallen off for the diminishing population has led to a discontinuance of manufacturers, though in the museums they are evidence that they once existed. This is the case as regards chronometric instruments, their occupations being desultory. They have little need to know the time of day. So the use of clocks and watches has gone out of fashion. Time don't exist there. They don't need to know your time. They don't need your clocks and watches. It's out of fashion. And there does not now exist a person in the two islands, as they still call these two inaccessible mountains, who can make a clock or watch. They don't even make watches or clocks. They don't care about your matrix. Yet in their museums they have many ancient specimens of clocks and watches of various kinds. Like remarks apply to many other arts and scientists and manufacturers. So they're finding what they are perceiving as their modern clocks, but what are they really? I mean, what time are they keeping versus what time is being offered, by these modern clocks and times and systems? How many times? Like remarks apply to many other arts, scientists, and manufacturers, the cause is likely to be found in the fact that their non-intercommunication with other nations. But the most wonderful thing of all is this land of marvels is a plant or herb that they call the plant of life. Thus, I am assured, though it seems hardly credible, if taken from time to time in certain forms, combined with the other plants found here, induces great longevity. Tree of life, that has the plant of life. I mean, a place that time don't even exist. They say, oh, but we found some type of clock thing, ancient clocks. You don't even know what they are or what they were keeping track of. Yet in their museums they have many ancient specimens of clocks and watches. Specimens of clock. You don't even know what you're looking at. The king, for instance, who looks between 50 and 60 years of age, I'm seriously told is 340. Now, when we get back in the press of John Legend and sources, don't they tell you that the people there was living to 500 years or something like that? But this king looks like 50 years old, but he's 360. 340, man. Yet that even is nothing out of the way here. So that ain't shit. That ain't nothing to be 340. Because they got living water and living plants and plants of life. Where? In Eden. Where? The terrestrial paradise. Terrestrial paradise. The merging of America and the Garden of Eden. The Orinoco River. The Orinoco flow in Mount Roraima. Huh? 340 years? The king? What king? What king? The priesthood? What priesthood? So they're finding kings, castles, priesthoods. Yet that is even nothing out the way here, for assuming that they speak the truth. There are among the priesthood a few who have lived in the land 1,000, 1,500, and 200 years or more, and 2,000 years or more. 1,000, 1,500, and 2,000 years and counting. In the mountain. Living waters, living plants. I should scarcely take the trouble to write this down, were it not that I find it a matter of such common belief on all sides that it is impossible to avoid regarding it seriously, because everybody's telling them the same truth. When first these statements were made to me, I sought Manila and reported to him what had been told to me, remarking that I thought it somewhat in bad taste on the part of my informants to combine together, as it seemed to me that they must have to palm off such tales upon a stranger. To my utter astonishment, he replied that he had reason to believe that there was truth in what I had been told. He had doubtless heard the same thing, and he is so quick to probe to the very root of whatever excites his interest, and a man so difficult to deceive, that on receiving his solemn assurance I asked for it, that he was not jesting. I felt bound to regard the matter attentively, that they were people 2,000 years old in their tribe. Fountain of youth, Solomon, Prester John. I therefore set to work to get all the facts as well as I could, and to see and examine the wonderful plant for myself. What's this got to do with the Voynich manuscript? In this way I have arrived at the following data. The plant, which is called carina, in the language of the country, is of a curious, delicate, clear blue tint, almost transparent in appearance, and its texture is smooth and glassy looking. As to the leaves, it grows to a height of 2 or 3 feet, and is succulent in character, exuding freely when squeezed a juice which has a very strong, bitter, sweet taste, and it is prepared in several ways, many having, it is believed, secret recipes which have been handed down from father to son from generation to generation, but all relate more or less to a tea. Love to hire more for that tea, man. Or infusion of leaves with or without the admixture of other herbs or drugs. To have the full effect, it must be taken regularly, almost from infancy. Indeed, it is so powerful that those not accustomed to it must take but very weak doses at first for a long time, till the system learns to assimilate it. Sounds like the Black Panther, right? Otherwise, it may even act as a poison. Vibranium, huh? Taken, however, regularly from childhood, it produces and maintains perfect health, defying all those usual fevers, diseases that affect humanity and other parts of the world, and carrying the body unimpaired in all its functions, accidents, of course, excepted, into extreme age, without loss of vitality or strength. People do not, however, live forever. There is one disease and only one, that is the carina, that the carina cannot cure. This is called faloa. There is also another name for it, signifying the don't care sickness. Those attacked with it gradually sink and die painlessly and easily. This disease, no. So even if they get this disease, they still die without any pain, and they die easily. This disease, no doubt, must come to all sooner or later, but it is generally believed that the priest and they alone are aware of some way of so preparing the carina that they can either cure even the faloa or keep it at bay for very much longer periods than other people succeed in doing. It is certainly a remarkable fact that throughout the land, disease, in the sense of which we understand it, is unknown. We're talking Roraima, man. We're talking paradise, man. Disease is unknown. Consequently, physical pain is almost absent, save in case of physical injury, nor is it necessary to be continually taking the preparation of the carina when once the system becomes inoculated with it. As it were, it is sufficient afterwards to repeat the doses at long intervals. And a traveler, as I gather, might take sufficient of the dry plant with him on his travels to keep him in perfect health for many years in any part of the world. Man. And when at last the faloa attacks his victim, it causes neither pain nor suffering of any kind, only melancholy and a distaste for life in general, while its approach is so gradual as often to be unnoticed. So you might be getting that today, and you be like, it's time to go. There is little doubt that the absence of ordinary diseases exerts a corresponding effect upon the physical development, and this alone is sufficient to account for a fact that this is very noticeable here. The beauty of the inhabitants, both the women and the men, are remarkable in this respect. In Roraima. Oh, you don't know? Remarkable in this respect. And probably not in all the rest of the world put together could so many beautiful women and handsome men be found as one sees in this small but strange country. And this applies to the old in a measure, as well as to the young generally. Whether it is always also applies to the old amongst the priests, one cannot say, for they seem to keep entirely to themselves. As regards to these priests, listen up. There are two sects. They're talking about the people in Roraima. Let's get it, man. There are two sects in the country called respectively dark or black and the white. Now they're not talking about what you consider dark black people and white people. Get that shit out your head. They're talking about frequency, energy. Kind of like Star Wars, right? Let's go. The religion of the white priest or brotherhood resembles in many respects that of the Hebrews. See how they put white in quotations? They are using translations to depict this particular priesthood. They're not saying white people or black people. They're all melanated people who are living in here. They're not in a religion, right? This is their way. These are khans. This is a priesthood that they're calling, quote, white or, quote, black. And it says it resembles the Hebrews, man. The Hebrews, man. The Hebrews, man. Save that for God, they use the term Great Spirit. So they're not with that DOG. Or good, or Almighty Spirit. These have, however, now no influence in the country and have been exiled to Merlanda. The Hebrews have been exiled. The Hebrews have been exiled, where they confine themselves to a small domain, have few followers, and very little communication with the general inhabitants. The chief of these is called Sanaim. The chief of the Dark Brotherhood, as they dominate themselves, as well they deserve their name. From all I hear, is called Corian. So, powers of the Sith. The force, which force? The force is with you, with which force? The dark force, the light force, which force? And he and Sanima are both popularly supposed to be more than 2,000 years old. So the leader of the Dark Brotherhood and the chief of the White or the Light Brotherhood are both 2,000 years old. But since both these millenarian gentlemen keep themselves shut up among their own immediate adherents and seldom show themselves, kind of reminds me of like Moses, right? It would not be difficult to keep up a tradition of this sort without a word of truth to back it. It may be urged in support of it, however, that we see many going about who we are assured are 300, 400, or 500 years old. 300, 400, or 500 years old. We see many that are 300, 400, 500 years old. We're going to get back on that Preston John legend and the sources, letting you know that the people in Preston John's land live at least to 500 years old. And these assert that they have not the true secret of preparing the Karina. So they don't even know how to truly do it like the chiefs that are living 2,000 years old. This being known only to the priests. Man. You can go into this, man, but the Corian, the brotherhoods, and all that stuff, man. Let's go, man. This is great. I mean, look, man, we're just talking about this priest, these marvels. Man, I wish I had more time. Obviously, we're going to take our time, but so much good dropping in this book, man. Love the Awatar battle. Easy. How you know you talking Black Panther, man? Love the carrot, man. Yo. The cereal and other crops required are grown in Merlanda, which is principally devoted to agriculture. So again, all these are connected, right? There's more tepuis, flat top tabletops, and they're saying some are exclusively for what? Exclusively devoted to agriculture, and there are a number of goats and a kind of sheep, and large quantities of fowls, pumas, which are kept as pets in Manoa, are not allowed in Merlanda, for they would play sad havoc amongst the flocks and the poultries, though properly they live upon them all the same, for the Manoans, being vegetarians, never eat meat, but give the flesh of their animals to their pets. They never eat meat. So it almost sounds like the Minoans, which you get in the Greek culture and all that kind of stuff, but also these, copper tone, copper hue, people. And what's the connection with the Minoans and the Manoans? We already got before that these priests are flowing like the Hebrews. These two animals between them, is said the puma and the cat have cleared all the land of the wild animals, including serpents. So they're talking the snakes, for there is more deadly enemy of serpents, even venomous ones. There's no more deadly enemy of these snakes they're talking about than the cat, and the puma will attack and overcome larger non-venomous snakes. So this puma, this jaguar, is an enemy of the snake. And any enemy of a snake must be a friend of a dragon. Alright, man. Let me get one more little drop in here, man, before we make our dismount with the lost world, and we'll probably keep it there for the next flow, man. We're talking about this Manoa. The furniture. This is all we're talking Roraima, alright? Let's go. The furniture in use in the city of Manoa is material and style. In material and style is not unlike what's found in Japan. What's the connection, my Asiatic brother? That in this palace was the exquisite design and finish, much of it inlaid with gold and silver. It was such a cabinet that Manoa now unlocked. He took from it a parchment roll. This, said he, is the document I gave the king first day he received us. Now, of course, it belongs to him, but I have borrowed it temporarily to show you. It was written by Apollo, the last descendant of those white priests who fled this country's ages ago with the king Melinda. In some of the old parchments in my possession, it is described how those who thus went away found the empire going out everywhere to pieces and falling a prey to barbaric hordes of black or red or cruel white races, and how they eventually took refuge in the secluded valley high up among the peaks of the Andes, of which I have already spoken to you, and dwelt there through many centuries. They have brought with them and succeeding in cultivating the plant of life, or the Carolinas. Notwithstanding, and albeit it made them all long-lived, the fatal disease, the Faloa, claimed them one after the other, to Apollano and I alone were left. Then the Faloa laid its withering hand upon Apollo also. He lost his last child, and that affected him very deeply, for before he died, he wrote this strange letter, which tells all about myself, that I know with certainty, yet hence, as you will see, that still more to be learned in the future. I will read it to you. Let's go. Let's read this beautiful letter, man. To Sanama, the chief white priest of Manoa, or if dead, the descendant of or successor, or to the reigning king of Manoa, greeting. I, Apollano, the last descendant of the white priest, who fled with the great King Melinda, do commend to your care the bearer of this letter, he whom you will know by the name Monella. He is, after myself, the sole survivor of our race outside thy land of Manoah. Treat him with all courtesy, respect, and confidence, for he is a royal descendant, and the unsullied blood of thine ancient line of kings flows in his veins. Mark well his counsels, give heed to his warning. It sounds like a prophet passing the reins to another prophet, right? And observe his rulings, for he comes to restore the true religion of the Great Spirit and to bring peace and happiness to our land. It sounds like a priest king, right? A Mashiach, right? Long years ago, he did receive a grievous injury to the head in combat with the savage foe. Now listen, they're saying that this Mashiach received an injury to the head, right? Man, love to Hiram, who gave us a great story on this Hiram of Biff, who got an injury to the head. Let's go. This casts a shadow upon his memory of the past, so that he knoweth not of what he went before, and his former life is blank, save for some vague passing glimpses that at rare times come back to him in the guise of dreams and visions. We could have told him much of all that went before, but we have refrained first for that he might not have rightly comprehended what we had to tell, and next in mercy, for he had suffered much. It was deemed best that the recollections of his suffering should sleep until the time of his awakening should arrive, so they know this Mashiach is going to wake up and remember one day, when the work for which the Great Spirit hath appointed him shall lie before him, and shall form his sorrow's antidote and comfort the memory that hath untimely been suspended. For we know that it may not be destroyed, perchance may be restored to its full power by such an accident as wrecked it. But failing that, there is but one sure treatment, namely to drink of the infusion of the herb called Trinema. Whoa, is this some drop? Could this herb Trinema, let me write it down, man, it might be important, man. Trinema, will it restore your memories? Namely, to drink the infusion of the herb called Trinema that groweth in Merlanda and nowhere else. Which island is that? Which one? Which cloud island is that? This one? Let go. So it grows in Merlanda and nowhere else. Let the stranger Monella that bringeth this to thee, let the stranger Monella that bringeth this to thee drink of the Trinema in accordance with the rules I have laid down for him upon another scroll. Let him for some weeks take of it sparingly, even as I have written, then more frequently, and lo, all his past life, now hidden, shall be revealed to him. The sun shall light up the recesses of his memory, or his inner sun, his soul, his pineal gland, his pine cone, his third eye, and he shall know himself and what lies before him. Whoa. Trinema, huh? Seem like we all need a little bit of this Trinema. Man, all very interesting drop, man. They also had some drop about this golden city that we'll get to a little, maybe next time. But, just skipping this quickly. It says, finally, having completed all the preparations, the three on the morning of the third day after the departure of the Indians set out on their enterprise of visiting the mysterious inhabitants of the Golden City. The Golden City, huh, Freddie B? Cities of go. Oh yeah, man, they get into this Golden City, man. But when they had quietly passed through the narrow belt of wood and stood just within its cover, gazing down at the wondrous golden city that lay sleeping at their feet. The three friends remained silent and almost spellbound, man. The scene was indeed one to which no description can possibly do justice, man. Did they find a city of gold? Did they find one of the cities of gold? One of the vortexes? One of the Edens? The sun was just high enough to light up the glistening towers and cupolas. Remember Lake Copala we just read about in the Forbidden Histories of America in Utah? And these and the spangled sky above were reflected in the glassy waters of the lake. Beyond and around all was haze of rose-colored golden hue, which gave the central picture the effect of a vignette. From the upper parts, which showed the clearest against this background of rosy mist, the various buildings grew less substantial as the eye followed their lines downward, till the bridges and embankments seemed almost ghostly and unreal, yet strangely beautiful in their airy lightness. And the picture was so faithfully repeated in the lake. Look at this city, man. Do you see the city that they're looking at? This is an illustration. They are exploring Roraima. They're finding golden cities, priesthoods. The sun was just high enough to light the glistening towers and cupolas. Come on, man. But for the reversal of the image, the line that divided the reality from the shadow could scarcely be discerned, while the whole seemed poised, as it were, in the ruddy golden haze, like a mirage in midair. I mean, what's really going down? What's really going down when we talk about the devil tree of Eldorado, right? Now you get it? Cities of gold. Come on, man. And we'll get a piece of this for the dismount, this Lost Worlds, man. Let's just take it to page 160 by Conan Doyle. They keep talking about it. We're going to pick it up in part 3 right here. Wow. Top of the soul. Hardly had we started when we came across signs that there were indeed wonders awaiting us after a few hundred yards of thick forest containing many trees which were quite unknown to me, but which Summerlee, who was a botanist of the party, recognized as forms of conifera and of Psychodicotiaceous plants, which have long passed away in the world below. So it's a whole other world that got stuff that don't even live down there. We entered a region where the stream widened and formed a considerable bog. High reeds of the peculiar type grew thickly before us, which were pronounced to be Equisectecia, something like that, or Mars tail, and tree ferns scattered among them, all of them swaying in a brisk wind. Suddenly, Lord John, who was walking first, halted with uplifted hands. Look at this, by George, this must be a trail of the father of birds. Uh-oh. Are they finding dragon tracks? An enormous 3-toed track was imprinted in the soft mud before us. The creature, whatever it was, had crossed the swamp and had passed on into the forest. We all stopped to examine that monstrous spoor, if it were indeed a bird, and what animal could leave such a mark. Its foot was so much larger than an ostrich that its height upon the same scale must be enormous. Lord John looked eagerly around him and slipped 2 cartridges into his elephant gun. I'll stake my good nature as a shikari, said he, that the track is a fresh one. The creature has not passed 10 minutes. Look how the water is still oozing in a deeper print. By Jove, man, that's their Jupiter. See, here is the mark of the little one. Surely enough, smaller tracts of the same general form were running parallel to the larger ones. But what do you make of this? Cried Professor Summerlee, triumphantly pointing to what looked like the huge print of a 5-fingered human hand appeared among the 3-toed marks. So you had dragons and dragon riders? Weldon, cried Challenger in an ecstasy. I've seen them in the Weldon clay. It is a creature walking erect upon 3-toed feet and occasionally putting one of his 5-fingered paws into the ground. Not a bird, my dear Roxton, not a bird, a beast, no, a reptile, a dinosaur. A dinosaur, huh? Nothing else could have left such a track. They were puzzled. A worthy Sussex doctor some 90 years ago, but who in the world could have hoped? A dinosaur, huh? Crouching down among the bushes, we observed them at our leisure. So beyond the open glade, as it were, 5 of the most extraordinary creatures that I have ever seen crouching down among the bushes. We observed them at our leisure. There were, as I said, 5 of them, 2 being adult, 3 young ones. In size, they were enormous. Even the babies were as big as elephants, while the 2 larger ones were far beyond all creatures I have ever seen. They had slate-colored skin, which was scaled like a lizard's, shimmered where the sun shone upon it. All 5 were sitting up, balancing themselves upon their broad, powerful tails and their huge 3-toed hind feet, while their small 5-fingered front feet they pulled down the branches upon which they browsed. Man, let's get it right here. It is true that these monstrous creatures which we had seen were lumbering, inoffensive brutes which were unlikely to hurt anyone, but in this world of wonders, what other survivals might there not be? What fierce active horrors ready to pounce upon us from their lair among the rocks or the brushwood. It was destined that on this very morning, our first in a new country, we were to find out what strange hazards lay around us. It was a loathsome adventure, and one in which I hate to think if, as Lord John said, the glade of the iguanodons, that's what they want to call these reptiles, will remain with us a dream, then surely the swamp of the pterodactyls will forever be our nightmare. So they're calling these things pterodactyls, huh? The swamp of pterodactyls. The place into which we gazed was a pit, and may in the early days have been one of a smaller volcanic blowhole of the plateau. So when we're talking dragons, when we're talking volcanoes, Hawaii volcanoes, or this connection to these pterodactyls, the place was a rookery of pterodactyls. There were hundreds of them congregated within view. At the bottom area around the water ridge was alive with the young ones and the hideous mothers brooding upon their leathery, yellowish eggs, man. Pterodactyls? Our professors would gladly have stayed there all day, so entranced were they by this opportunity of studying the life of the prehistoric age. They pointed out the fish and dead birds around among the rocks as proving the nature of the food of these creatures, and I heard them congratulating each other on having cleared up the point, while the bones of this flying dragon, so they're not calling it a pterodactyl no more, they're calling it a flying dragon, are found in such great numbers in certain well-defined areas as in the Cambridge green sand. So first they're talking pterodactyls, right? A whole rookery of pterodactyls, these prehistoric dragons, leathery, yellowish eggs or golden eggs. And now they tell you the truth that these are flying dragons. And again, we're just talking about Roraima, Hawaii. We're just talking Eden, the Orinoco flow. The Orinoco flow of Roraima, Eden. We're just talking a earthly paradise. And right here we're just talking flying dragons in Roraima. The dragons will come out their holes to subject themselves to a child. Keep on surfing the wave. Keep enjoying the flow. Get in the drop chatter and make sure you keep your water flowing and fire burning. Become a dragon sponsor on the wall to support what you see in front of you in the ether. And know, man, it's Drop Nation. And in Drop Nation, on our own land in the CUV, we keep the water flowing. All praise Hawaii. Stay tuned for the next installment. And we have a lot of drop coming next, man. Stay in the ether, download the app. And I appreciate all the tribe, all the Shabbat time, for all the energy you give to serve the greater whole, which is Hawaii. Alive. Hawaii.